Hi, welcome to our channel True Up. HarmonyOS 2 has arrived and will soon be available in more smartphones, tablets, smartwatches, and even home appliances. What exactly is HarmonyOS? It appears to be an operating system, but who created this freshly built one? Huawei is the answer. The system had previously sparked significant debate among people, and it has finally come. As a result, we shall discuss it now. Under pressure from US sanctions that prevent access to Google applications and services, Huawei began switching to HarmonyOS, its own in-house operating system for Internet of Things devices, last year. The OS now has a slew of partners, including home appliance behemoth Midea, drone manufacturer SE Technology, and Swiss watchmakers Tissot and Swatch. However, there are many uncertainties regarding what HarmonyOS is and if it can compete with the Android/iOS smartphone duopoly. Meanwhile, when it comes to the longevity of Huawei's HarmonyOS, some individuals on the internet pondered how many installed HarmonyOS would genuinely allow HarmonyOS to continue. In truth, there is no typical response. The most prevalent answer on the internet has a market share of 16%. However, the meaning of this 16% market share is also uncertain, therefore we will revisit this topic with you shortly. Here come our questions. What precisely is HarmonyOS? How is it affecting the whole market, and will it be able to break Huawei's encirclement? Let's keep watching this video to find out the answers to these questions. First and foremost, let us define HarmonyOS. Huawei claimed it has been working on Harmony since 2012, when a small group of its senior executives, led by founder Ren Zhengfei, met behind closed doors to debate ideas on how to lessen its reliance on Android. Huawei was eventually forced to make a decision. The business was banned by the US in May 2019, resulting in the loss of access to Google services. While the Android open source project, AOSP, remains free to use, Google's private services are regarded a must-have for Android smartphones outside of China, where Huawei's sales have plummeted since the ban. 3 months after the embargo was imposed, Huawei introduced HarmonyOS. Huawei was finally forced to make a decision. In May 2019, the company was blacklisted by the US, resulting in the loss of access to Google services. While the Android open source project, AOSP, is still open to use, Google's private services are considered essential for Android handsets outside of China, where Huawei's sales have plunged since the ban. Huawei launched HarmonyOS 3 months after the ban was enforced. The brutality of market rivalry in the internet era is plain evident, particularly competition amongst internet platforms, and coexistence of 4 platforms is almost impossible. If a platform does not soon get a 16% market share, it will most likely be beaten in the competition. This rivalry, however, often refers to that in a specific industry, such as e-commerce platforms. If Huawei HarmonyOS is considered as a mobile phone operating system, then the 16% market share refers to mobile phone operating system market share. Then we came to find out how it affects the entire market. The reason for its commercial influence is due to the operating system itself. It is more than just a mobile phone operating system. HarmonyOS is an all-encompassing distributed operating system that links everything. According to Huawei's presentation of HarmonyOS, the system is involved in numerous industries, implying that it has many competitors. This also indicates that if HarmonyOS has 16% of the market among all operating systems, that is a major deal. Most operating systems, including Android, iOS, and Windows, dominate their own domains, and when they cross fields, they converge slightly. Huawei also intends to expand HarmonyOS into other industries and create a system that is interoperable with all smart devices. If HarmonyOS achieves a 16% market share in all areas, it will not only have a 16% market share, but will also be the number 1 operating system. There are 4 billion smartphone users worldwide, with 640 million constituting 16% of the market. If Huawei cannot fix the chip supply issue, this data will be tough to access. The number of smartphones in China surpasses 900 million, with Huawei accounting for more than 144 million, although the company has a pretty substantial influence in the country. Although I am unsure how many of the 220 million installed devices are Chinese mobile phone customers, it should be easy to reach 144 million. Then there's the matter of whether HarmonyOS can break Huawei's encirclement. According to StatCounter, Android and iOS have a grip on smartphone operating systems, accounting for more than 99% of mobile devices in May. Operating systems are often a winner-take-all market, aided by network effects as developers and users band together behind one or two successful systems. Because to the growing popularity of cross-platform web apps, this has been considerably addressed in desktop environments in recent years. The gap between the native app and web app experiences is wider on mobile, thus users and developers prefer apps designed for a single operating system. The difficulty in recruiting developers may have prompted Huawei to return to the Linux kernel for smartphones and tablets. Previous attempts to design Android equivalents have failed to address this issue. According to Microsoft CEO Joe Belfiore, the company failed to attract app developers for its Windows Phone OS, which was discontinued in 2017, despite pushing extremely hard to incentivize them, even paying them to produce apps. At one time, Microsoft attempted to add a layer to Windows that could run Android apps, but it was unable to get all apps to work successfully. Huawei is hardly the first Chinese corporation to attempt to compete with Android. Alibaba Group Holding, the e-commerce behemoth that owns the Post, has Alios, a Linux distribution that was formerly available on smartphones under the name HarmonyOS but is now only available on other IoT devices. Even if it were not subject to US restrictions, Huawei would face considerable obstacles in launching its new operating system. Borrowing from AOSP might aid in the transition, providing customers with compatible apps right now as Huawei gradually builds HarmonyOS away from the shared codebase. However, without access to Google, YouTube, Facebook, and a slew of other popular apps and services, the OS will struggle to gain traction outside of China. However, because many of these popular worldwide services are already restricted in the nation, it may do better there. If the US-China tech conflict continues, the Chinese government's push for technical self-sufficiency may benefit HarmonyOS at home in the long term. For the time being, though, most Chinese smartphone manufacturers continue to utilize their own flavors of Android both at home and overseas. Thanks for watching our video. We would appreciate it if you subscribed our channel and gave us a thumb. See you.